Welcome, one and all. Welcome, Alec, to the Maya Empire, Survivor Guatemala. We're back.
We're here in the Maya Empire. Wow. Okay. So what year is it? What's gonna happen? Have the Spanish begun invading yet?
It's hard to say for sure. We don't even historians say they don't even know if the Mayans existed for sure.
That's what historians are you talking to?
Oh, all right. So previously on Survivor,
Alex
Judd
Jones.
Judd was the center figure here. To flip or not to flip was the question. And what did he do?
He decided
He flipped.
to flip.
He flipped.
Yeah, Judd turns. He turns. He's turncoat. See, it's a big move right there. He was my player of the game yesterday. Last time.
So
It could be yesterday. You could be watching this day to day.
It's important to remember the contingency of Jamie, Steph, Lydia, Rafe, and Judd now were a unit. And what that left only like 2, I believe, on the outs in that tribe. It was like some small amount.
Yeah, it was not much. The heat changes you, Brandon, 2006.
But
That's that quote.
notably, they had the most diverse tribe we've ever seen, with now everyone white but one.
That's right.
That's really, really good.
Super diverse.
That's beautiful to see. There was a little interaction between Gary and Danny.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Hogaboom, otherwise known as Gary Hawkins, is he's been found out by Danny, but
She's still like, okay. I don't know why he's saying that. Pretty sure he is the case, but I'll keep it low, on the DL for now.
even though no, she outed him though first already, so everybody pretty much knows what she said at this point.
Everyone knows what she said. Whether or not she's right or not is the question.
But so it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. All right, as always, click the link in the description to see the highlights of our reaction and come back afterwards for the discussion. Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Whole new dynamic now with Judd. That is quite the episode there.
Wait, I'm just now realizing how many B names are on this tribe. Blake,
Yeah.
Brandon, Brian, Bobby John.
Yeah, there's a lot of B names. That's why I was getting a little confused by it too.
Wow.
Everybody's a B.
There you have it. That's episode 5 of Survivor Guatemala.
Or as Blake was saying, because of the D's.
So many D's. Yeah.
So many D's, yeah. Too many D's.
Yeah, when you're talking about D's that much, it makes you wonder what kind of D's you thinking about.
Yeah, D's nuts, maybe, yeah.
Well, Blake has been voted out to no one's disappointment, and here we are now. Now they're down to 3-3 of the original tribe layout.
Yeah, he didn't seem like he was the most liked person on the tribe.
Certainly not,
So.
but I mean, obviously Bobby, John, and Brandon did not have a problem with it. Old country folk,
Yeah.
they loved the man's man, I guess.
I mean, they didn't seem to think he's not really a country guy, though. Not
Not a
really.
country
I mean,
guy.
he seemed like he was way more like.
But country
like,
guys love guys.
I guess.
Yes,
I don't know what's that supposed to mean.
know.
Country guys love guys. Yes or no? I mean, what?
They like manly shit.
Yeah, but like some of that
They
is
don't
like
give a fuck about being if he's not being respectful.
right. But like some of that. I mean, when you're blustering as much as we saw that he was on camera, which we only got part of it. Like we didn't get even close to the full brunt of it all. Like when he's blustering and bragging like that, guys don't, even country guys who are misogynistic and don't give a rat's ass whether or not he's being like respectful or not. Even they can see through like, okay, like that this guy's phony,
Mm-hmm.
Even a rube can tell when someone's exaggerating a little too much. So
Yeah,
they're compensating for something.
The question is, was Brandon just left out of it, or was he just like that adamant that he wouldn't vote Blake for some reason?
They said, they seemed like they went to him and he was just like, nah, I can't vote for him.
We thought Bobby John would be the same way, but
Yeah. Well, Bobby John was contemplate. Bobby John was like open to it. He said, I don't know if this is the time for it, but he wasn't as dismissive. he even said in the confessional, he was like, maybe this is the time. I don't think this is the time, but I got to keep my options open. So it's like he thought about it and decided it was. So
yeah. And I mean, on the other tribe, you just had Judd tiffin with like people
everybody?
like Cindy. Cindy he was like, if you wanna, you should step up, man. If you don't want us to be in the spotlight so much, if you think you're such a star, you should step up, man.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it's kind of a weird thing to say. Like, I don't know why he was getting upset at her, because like, I guess because he felt like she was like putting all the pressure on the guys.
Well, freaking, first of all, Jamie blew that challenge really
like hardcore,
historically bad. Yeah,
like I don't know if we've seen a Survivor loss that like distinct and obvious from the get-go.
I don't recall one, and specifically on one person that much too.
Yeah.
Like really blowing it for the whole tribe. Like the tribe had no say on whether they were gonna continue to compete on that challenge or not.
No, it's just like he's just hacking away. Except he's not.
He wasn't hacking. He was not hacking, which is the problem apparently.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He should have hacked. He should have gotten some tips from the guy who just did it in like 2 minutes basically.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than.
But I mean, if we stay in these tribes, this makes for a much more interesting layout. Now you have 3-3 on that tribe, of the original tribe members, and then
more drama ability, dramatic. It's more dramatic that way, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then on the other tribe, it's just kind of like they already said Judd and Margaret just can't get along in the preview.
Yeah. So Judd's already, made his bed. So that's kind of that. Yeah, and it was just like she just can't understand that the old tribe's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But she's still trying to be like, no, I want to be like the old tribe.
Bring it back together.
He's just like, no, obviously I've made my decision. That's not what I want.
Also worth noting that they did win. Nakum won the reward also for the pool. They was talking about how they wanted to go in the water, but they can't because of the Crocs. But now it's an enclosed caged pool. Yashad won it?
Yashad won the reward. Nakum won the immunity. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's confusing now because they switched everyone around and
So Yashad won that and had the nice caged pool in there.
Yeah,
that seems like a really cool. Good reward.
Yeah, like a really, really good reward.
And that just stays in their camp. You never really had something that big.
Yeah.
Except, they had the one tribe where they had like a freaking makeover.
Shelter?
Done, yeah.
Extreme Makeover Home Edition.
It was last season, right?
That was last season, yeah. That was, yeah.
The rich get richer. It was like the tribe that was doing well. Just got a nice tribe built or shelter built for them too.
Yeah. Well, I guess when the merge happens, they're probably all going to move there then. I mean, they got a nice little pool and a protected cage. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But yeah, Blake was actually. They showed him early on in this episode. They showed a lot of Blake, so it was kind of like I would have been surprised if it wasn't Blake after all that.
Yeah,
because they showed him early on talking about how he feels like he's in a good spot in the tribe, or like
Oh yeah, that
I like my odds.
I like my odds. I love this. And yeah, I think me and you both were like, "What are you talking about?" It's like this is like the fourth. It's like the fifth thing. Like fifth episode, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I feel great." I was like,
in a great spot.
Bro, you've been there for like 12 days. Like, calm down.
And clearly, like the golden boy, he's shown himself not to have the most self-awareness. He's one of those people who will just rattle off these stories that are clearly people aren't into, and he'll just say it nonstop without taking any social cues.
Yeah, like all of the women were like, kind of like clearly not into it and not interested, and not really trying to pay attention.
The fact that he thought he was in such a good spot, so he obviously had no idea. So
I find most of the stories pretty sus. Like as in, I don't believe them.
Yeah, could be one of those things.
One of those guys, like I said during the episode, could be one of like those guys on YouTube that tell you how to pick up women, but I don't think they've ever actually dated a woman.
I mean, unfortunately, there do exist the guys that do just get with a lot of women and then tell these stories.
It is unfortunate.
So it could be that as well.
Have a higher standard, ladies. Guys like that, Don't pay me mind.
The frat boys.
Pay me mind instead. No,
Pay
don't.
me mind.
Pay me mind instead. No, it's fine. I whatever. I'm not that good, so at least I've got the courage to admit it.
I don't know. It's a certain type of person. I mean, this is like there's frat boy and there was also frat boy in early 2000s. It's like a whole other beast, There's like they're both beasts on themselves, but it's like a even worse early 2000s frat boys. They had like nothing holding them back. Blake said when Gary said I wouldn't want you to date any of my 3 daughters, he was like, yeah, you wouldn't want me around any of them. I'm like, Jesus.
It was like, yeah, it was like, what the hell are you saying? What are you saying?
Animal.
What is that kind of? Yeah, what's that supposed to mean? Like, I would be like, what?
Couldn't help himself.
Yeah, he'd just be like his hands all over him. I guess
Jesus. See, they were a lot less, a lot more shameless back in the day. They're just like, because nowadays at least you'll be chastised to some extent if doing that stuff.
Be like, bro, stop.
But now, back then, he was just like, oh, I'll just say whatever the fuck I want. They won't even say anything about it. That's what's messed up about it. He's like so surrounded by all these people that promote this behavior,
And the wild thing about this, despite the fact that I think that there was a lot of social ills, there's a lot of me that really kind of wishes that things were back like they were in the 2000s. Things were a lot simpler in some ways back then because you knew exactly who to avoid. Now everything's way more complicated. So, but that's all I'm going to get into.
Yeah, but that's
in that regard. Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't trade what we have now for more guys like that because I would say that because gross.
Yeah, I mean, if anything can discourage those, I feel like that's still better. If we can still discourage those types from being that blatantly like.
I think also some of the problem is like a lot of times the sort of culture behind that was like it was like echo chambered in a way because it was like frats were like all protected and now there's like way more scrutiny on like frat life and like the sort of party and sort of all that kind of thing, which is like to me that's kind of a good thing.
And that was the expected behavior back then, and there wasn't much accountability. That's like
it was sort of a there was kind of a gross
and even the fact that Danny was like that's just how
like he's a nice guy. He's just like but it's like well I mean maybe they do, but they shouldn't be talking about that like in front of you like. Like that's a. And
I've always been in the mindset that I've never talked like that. I've just never talked. I don't think that's just how the boys locker room talk. I just don't.
I don't. I mean, like in the sense that like bragging about the women that you've been with. No. I mean, I think that like this has gotten into an interesting little segue here, but I mean, like I've definitely like. Guys definitely do talk not in that way in particular in like bragging about like the women they've been with or whatever, but like they will but I mean it's like anybody, they'll talk about people that they're like interested in, people they don't like, and like bluster about stories that they have to their friends. But the thing is like stories to your friends are very different than stories to people that you've met.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just like, but the whole idea of locker room talk has just never been something I've never talked to those kinds of people anyway that participate in that kind of talk. It's just never in my circle of friends.
Yeah, I guess it sort of depends on like what the extent of the locker room talk, because it's like, I mean, I've been in my fair share of locker rooms, and there is some talk in those locker rooms, but I don't know if it is like. I guess maybe it's too far gone from high school. I don't think there was anything that was overly like to an extent where I'd be made uncomfortable. But again, that was also like a different period of time. Well, I was also like a lot more innocent then too, so maybe I would have been a little bit more sensitive to that. So, whereas, I don't know.
It's just my belief. It's always been my belief that the way you talk about women behind closed doors is one of the biggest testament to your character, It's like if you're willing to step over boundaries just because you're behind closed doors, I still think that's like a mark against you, like being disrespectful or.
Well, okay. So, but here's the thing: is like we talk about women on this show a lot, where we comment on their appearance, and some of it I know is kind of partially in jest, at least, because like some of it is making fun of like the editing or the cinematography choices. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there's still an element of it that I enjoy because I'm a guy and I like looking at nice things. Mm-hmm. And
But I think there's a difference between that and saying like, I would fuck the shit out of her, or
yeah. There's a big difference between that.
Or I have fucked the shit out of this. Because I've been around guys who are like, I fucked this one. That's that one fat bitch you fucked, right? Or I fucked that one ugly bitch.
Okay, yeah. So people like that, I would have been like, don't do that.
So yeah, I've always been against that, or like,
yeah, I'm not.
We're freaking Blake coming out here when he knows he's being televised also, but even the fact that you're talking about your girlfriend in a manner like, oh, her boobs are too big, they're gross now.
Yeah, like what the hell is that? Like, come on, man.
It clearly shows
it's weird.
He doesn't really respect her in any meaningful way,
if that's it, because like think back about like all of the people that we've watched in Survivor, and there are people that have talked about their wives and have described them as being like really beautiful or hot, or like, I think what's his name called, trophy wife, I think is what he called her. Not Clay, but freaking Brian's
wife.
Yeah, I think he said something like that, but they never went to like that. It would always be on like, I love my wife so much, I love my kids, I love my family. It's like there was a lot more about like the emotional and like the relational sort of aspect to it, rather than, yo, my girlfriend, she's got big boobs, man.
Yeah. Well, and there's always something scummy about like, gloating about something that your girlfriend probably wouldn't want you to talk about. Something like, oh, she's a good fuck, or like, But then the fact he wasn't even gloating about her boobs at that point. He was criticizing them. It's like,
he was like talking about, she's like double D's, and then she's on the pill, and it's like, dude, stop. Why are you even opening your mouth? You've got like 4 women around you that don't want to hear this.
Yeah. But
he's Mr. Golden Boy confidence, he's like, there he is. That's it.
The golden boy.
Well, hey, they voted him out. If you ask me, that's a testament right there to maybe don't say that stuff.
That's good. Yeah, it's a good reflection on society in 2006, whatever this
2006,
is.
2006, yeah.
It's a better.
No, I think there was probably too much leeway to conversation and talk like that. I mean, you actually see it reflected in the comedy films of the time. I don't know if you've gone back. I've watched like trailers from like 2000s comedies, and like they're like unwatchable. Like how are these even? I was be like, these are kind of like really gross, and I think that partially might be like part of the downfall of like why comedy movies weren't like kind of stopped being like a successful thing. At least in that same sort of vein, like you don't see comedy movies like that anymore, and if you do, they're not very successful. So I'm wondering if some of that is just because of that, like that sort of like gross sort of frat boy like humor just doesn't really fly anymore. And to a degree, I think it kind of didn't, but I think it was tolerated and seen as like more the norm back then. So like, even though people didn't like it, it was still like more just, instead of like actively criticized, it was more just kind of like ignored, I guess. Which is not the way to address it, obviously, as we see, post Me Too.
Right.
So
yeah,
that was an interesting conversation. And that was all from a Survivor episode.
It's always interesting because you can see like clearly how things have changed when you look back at some of the older seasons and how they talk about women like in the Amazon, or they're talking all these like sexist comments that it was just like, they just didn't even think twice about it. It's just kind of,
Just kind of
things we say. These are things we say, you know. I forget what Rob Cesternino said about Heidi one time. They were making. He said some comment on what she looked like, because he was crushing on her most of the season, but he made some comment was like about her without makeup on or something. But there's a couple comments in that season where it's like, oh wow, you just wouldn't hear people. You wouldn't think you would hear people say that these days, just because of how society has changed.
It's more. There's more sensitivity, I guess, to a degree on that kind of. And yeah, I mean, I think to some extent that's I would consider that a mostly good thing. I'm not going to sit down and say that that's a blanket good thing, because I think sometimes the over analyzation, and I think that's a lot of that's due to like social media and stuff, like the over analyzation over what people say can sometimes be a detriment. But I think as a good thing, just let good words come out of your mouth. Be a good person.
Yeah, it's just just the fact, like,
don't say stuff like that.
You can be people can be overly sensitive now, but there's the fact that back then they just like
they were not sensitive to it.
Yeah, they didn't even take the time to care about how it would make someone feel, like, oh, this bitch needs makeup or something, like these kind of comments where
it's like geez, like
you don't look as good without makeup, like they just like, make these.
It's just like
you're like a different person.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Well, no, but I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you said like what people say is a reflection of what's inside. Like it's a reflection of your character, and I think that's totally true. So
yeah, like if you're willing to trash talk, like women in general, or specifically your girlfriend, it's just like, oh, as long as she doesn't know, it's just between us boys. I'll say this freaking all this stuff. That's like a more testament to your character than what you'll say in public.
That's a little that saying stuff like that is a little gross. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
So who's your MVP for the episode?
That's our commentary about 2000 society, I guess. There's a lot of really good stuff in this episode. This got interesting social interactions with everyone. It's a very social episode.
Fun little challenge too.
Yeah, I liked. What's her name? Fisherman lady?
Lydia. Yeah, Lydia goofing around with her.
Lydia goofing around was really funny. I liked that a lot. I don't think I would call her MVP for
Pancake.
That,
the pancake.
Pancake?
Yes.
Yeah, that was very funny. I'm gonna give it to. Shoot, man, there was a lot of interesting stuff this episode. I think I'm gonna give it to Gary, because Gary seemed the one that was like the most for I don't want him to go any further. Like I'm putting my foot down and saying I don't want him to go any further. And I think
they were all like.
I think they were all
Brian,
kind of
Brian pushed that too, but
yeah, I think they were all kind of in agreement on that. But it, to me, it was like his argument against it seemed the most poignant, because it was like right after the whole like, I wouldn't let my daughters near you like stuff, and he was like, oh yeah, you wouldn't. It was like it was like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, that's. Makes a lot of sense why you would not want him to go any further. I was saying stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. Weird. I mean, so yeah, it's like that kind of behavior was breeded more back then, but at least it's still, if you're going to be that blatant about it, they'll still not be accepting of it.
People still don't want to hear, like people don't want to be around that like all the time.
But the problem is that he's probably just around a lot of guys and people that also talk that way. That's why he's able to do it as much.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh man, people are loving me here. I'm in a good spot. I'm killing it with these stories.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, everybody loves my stories. Yeah.
Who was it? Amy, the one that set it up in the beginning before, like saying that he has a lot of stories, because they didn't.
No, it was Brian, I think.
Whoever set it up didn't make it seem like it was a bad thing at first, and then it turned into a bad thing. It was like, he's the golden boy, and he also has a lot of stories that he tells, and then it just like it turned into, oh, we don't like the stories. But,
well, no, it was Brian, Brandon. Oh, there's too many B names.
There is a Brian and a Brandon.
I know.
Brandon's the one with the hat and the.
Okay,
Country boy.
Brian was the one who was like I'm just baiting him. I'm just baiting him to tell
Yeah, that's
stories
right.
now. Just keep opening his mouth. So
maybe I mean maybe Brian's the one to blame for Blake actually digging himself deeper.
He might be.
Maybe Brian deserves more credit.
In fact, you're right. I'm gonna give him more credit. Boom! I'm taking away from Gary and giving it to Brian for being on point for baiting out Blake's big bad
toxic behavior,
big bad bosom buffoonery.
I don't want to know. I don't even want to know how much he said. Other than that, if it's like
I know
there's
if
a little
it was
snippet about it.
Right, if that was the stuff they could air on TV, you know.
Yeah, right.
You know,
it's probably rough. They probably know like every detail about that woman and plenty other women.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it's great.
And we love it.
Beautiful. Yeah, we clearly by our like 20-minute conversation on why you should think about what you're saying and be respectful about women.
Let's do better, guys. Come on, guys. Maybe I've gotten sensitive in my old age. I don't think even when I was younger, I purposely never talked disrespectfully about women, you know.
Well, the way that I was always sort of like the one thing that I like always think about, even sometimes, because like I recognize that like I'm not like a good person in that regard. Like I'm not gonna say that I'm out and out obviously a misogynist because I think that's a little ridiculous. But I definitely like I know there's things that I think about people that are not very nice. But I recognize that, and so I know that like. But I was always taught that like, you know, every like woman that you meet is someone's daughter. If you think about it that way, it's like, you know, if you like think about like it almost sort of helps to like, in a way, like put yourself in their father's shoes. If you found out that a kid, you were saying or thinking those things about them, how would that make you feel? Like, it's like you should be a lot more respectful in that regard because there's more to them than just them. So that being said, I've met a lot of not very nice women in my life. So
that being said, fuck these bitches. You know?
That being said, fuck them. You know, but no, no, yeah, you're, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Just be a respectful person. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Try to be anyway. You know, no one's perfect. But.
And don't be one of those guys like Blake, to where.
Also, don't be a nice guy. TM.
But don't be like Blake, where you hook up with someone and then you immediately go and you're telling everybody about it. It's like, or you share like they're sharing this like this vulnerable part of themselves with you, and then you just go and like
brag
about it, and then it makes them look worse as a result. It's like it's not a good look for anyone.
No, yeah. I mean, there's definitely something to be said about like, yeah, you got to keep some of that stuff. Keep that stuff behind. Would be like keep it behind closed doors. Don't. But like honestly, like that stuff is better left between you and the person that you're doing that stuff with. Rather than,
especially with like an intimate moment. Or things like that, where it's like.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's the key word is intimacy, because that word is more than just I'm having sex with that person or I'm getting physical with that person. Like, intimacy is like it's way beyond that. Like that's like intimacy with like you and your friends is like you're not going to go around and tell like personal information like heart to hearts that you've had with friends to everybody either. Like because that's intimate detail. That's information that you are both being vulnerable with each other. One's accepting the information, one's telling you. You're not going to go tell that to everybody.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Like, even if it's not a bad thing, like, oh, they they're ugly or they're bad at sex. Even if it's a good thing you're saying, it's still like you're betraying that intimacy by doing that.
Yeah.
And it's like you're going out and saying, "Oh, they got a fucking rocking body, and fucking hit that. I fucking hit that, and we hit it 5 times last night. Fuck yeah."
I mean,
Give me a pound for that one, brother.
I mean, I think it's okay if you talk up that it's like you're happy with how things are going, and you think that your significant other is an attractive person. I mean, you like parts of them, but don't tell people every little detail about things, because that's weird and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like start dissecting their freaking the size of their boobs and what you like about them, what you don't like about them.
Yeah.
Maybe not that.
Man, they're too gross. They're gross now.
They're gross now. They were fucking slamming back then. I would freaking juggle those things back and forth. And now it's like I feel like I'm freaking knocking her out every time I do it. It's freaking inconvenient.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's annoying, and I hate it. I like thighs and butts more. That's did he say something like that?
I keep telling her she's gotta work out more. She's gotta get that ass back the way I like it.
Yeah, that cow is eating too much. I swear to God, it's going right to her hips.
Yeah, that's the shit right there. All right. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you want more. Hit the notification bell. Click links in the description for all our social media and to leave any feedback for us. And
especially because we went wild. We were like talking about for like a freaking half hour, 45 minutes about this. It was great. Absolutely. We don't normally do that, but that was well worth it.
Mm-hmm. And if you enjoyed this video, why don't you check out our BuzzFeed quizzes, taking random BuzzFeed quizzes with Rusty video.
Do it up.
All right, where we went into some relationship talk there. Red flags, things like that.
Yeah, checking out my red flags.
We went all over the place for those. I'd like to do more videos like that, like more discussion, like relationship. I was talking about I would like to do like love languages and personality tests, all these kinds of things that like really get into the mind, and maybe get some philosophical and moral talk going.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah. Treat
women respectfully. It's okay if you're actually physically attracted to them, though. That don't like deny that part of yourself if that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just restrain your impulses and don't talk about that stuff with people like that.
Yeah, you should. People's daughters should be able to be around you, and you should be comfortable to be around you.
Yes, that should be a thing. Yeah, don't be that guy. Don't be the guy whose fathers find you repulsive or uncomfortable to be around.
Yeah.
Or uncomfortable that you're around their daughters. Yeah.
Yeah. Amen. All right.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Till next time.
All right. Till next time.
All right. Come back next week from Guatemala.